So maybe a first question would be, give us a state of just your tribes. Madison has just been designated in December, Truax Field, as the home of F35A. Doctor, can you start? Give us an overview. WisconsinEye is interviewing those on the front lines of dealing with the COVID-19 crisis, which has changed how our criminal justice system works in some big ways. So it's a great time to interview Kelli Thompson, a state public defender. Kelli, thanks so much for sharing your time with us.
Steve, thank you very much for having me. I look forward to you and I having a discussion regarding this issue.
And I want to start at the 10,000 foot level, Kelli. When I look at the mission of the public defender, it says three things: zealously. I've got to catch up with my notes here. Zealously represent the clients and advocate for the criminal justice system. And the third point is, let me find it. Oh yeah, mission statement. Protect constitutional rights. So 10,000 foot question. How has the COVID crisis changed the mission of the Office of the Public Defender?
It hasn't changed the mission at all. It
Okay.
has changed the way we have to go about trying to live up to that mission. And this is, as you know, it's changing daily. 10,000 foot from our agency and nationally what's going on. We work with a lot of state public defense systems and county public defense systems nationwide as kind of talking about these issues and how we go forward, because it has so significantly changed and so significantly impacted the way that we go about doing our work. So at the same time that we're all taking care of our own health and using social distancing and the safer at home and being careful about where we go, at that same time, I'm telling my staff that they have to continue to do the extraordinarily important work that they're doing, and that is representing clients. And the way that you represent clients are oftentimes that communication, meeting with clients, talking with clients, discussing their cases, discussing the direction that they want to proceed. And it's almost in complete contrast to what we're being told to do in our own lives. And yet that's what we have to do. Our jobs don't stop. And it is what you said, people on the front lines. We talk about law enforcement, and we talk about obviously just the heroic method work that our healthcare professionals are doing minute by minute, but public defenders are in there absolutely every day trying to make certain that their clients' constitutional rights are being upheld, that our clients are getting the kind of legal representation that is necessary. And there are obstacles that are being put for good reason. But if my clients are in custody, which many of my clients are in custody, and all of a sudden there is a COVID outbreak in a jail or an institution, certain limitations are being put in place. And yet we have to have that communication with our clients. And it varies. It varies throughout the state. And it changes almost daily. So, we are very much relying on working with our local criminal justice systems as well as our state criminal justice systems to make sure that our voice is being heard and that our clients still have the ability to be represented in cases.
How many offices do you have statewide, Kelli?
We have about 40 offices, and that includes our administrative office, which I'm in today, and then 2 appellate offices, one in Madison and one in Milwaukee. The rest are all trial offices.
Right, and the resources are different in Taylor, Burnett, or Polk County than they are in Milwaukee County. So do you have different rules in terms of your clients interacting? Your public defenders interacting with their clients in jail?
Absolutely, and the rules usually are changing based on what's happening locally. So in Milwaukee, we know the House of Corrections has had a significant outbreak, and everybody's working collaboratively on how we can continue to do the work that we do. But if you are in a rural county, if they haven't had those same outbreaks, there's more flexibility. People are being allowed into the jails. They're still having some hearings in courtrooms. There's some flexibility, but that can again change very quickly on what's going on. Resources are different because we are a state agency and we are essential. All of our offices have to be open. our offices are open every single day. What we're trying to do is have a minimal staffing pattern, so making certain that we are still being able to comply, at least in the offices, with that 6 feet social distancing, making certain that people have some distance from one another and they're still able to do their jobs. So that is going on in every office. So it's a constant, who's coming in today, who's rotating in, who still needs, God forbid, a file that was forgotten there. All of a sudden, this client was picked up and you didn't know that they were arrested and going through some type of a bail. You have to get into the office. So these kind of discussions and logistics are constantly happening throughout the state.
Well, maybe this is too simplistic and too broad a question. The effect of COVID-19 on the public defender's office, is it justice delayed or justice denied?
I think it's not either, but there is definitely some delay, but I will tell you that everybody has been very responsive. So for instance, and I'm going to tell you the positive on this. The positive is all of a sudden we're getting people that were never released, pretrial. Pretrial is such a big issue for us. We have so many people sitting in custody pretrial that we believe don't need to be there. They're nonviolent. They would return to court. And that has always been varying how that is treated throughout the state. All of a sudden, we're having a lot more success getting people released from jails, either on no bail or very low cash bail, or with some type of conditions for them to be able to live by. We're also seeing a lot of individuals that, again, it's defined on how the law enforcement may, or with the DA's office may define a nonviolent or more serious. We're having people that are being ordered in. So they're not even arrested. They've been, or they're not even taken into custody. They've been arrested with an order in date. So ordering them in sometime this summer. So we have these individuals that are not coming through our criminal justice system in the same way. But we're having people that are arrested on serious cases. And those individuals we're still doing bail hearings. We're still doing preliminary hearings. In some counties, and this varies again on how the criminal justice system comes together, on some, if there's agreement between the prosecutor and the public defender, having some plea hearings done and sentencing done to get individuals out of custody. The bump up that we have are how much is being delayed into the summer, and these cases we already know the criminal justice system is going to be just overwhelmed. The Chief Justice set up a task force.
Yes.
And we're on that task force. We have 2 members on that task force, and that's already, they've already had multiple meetings to talk about what's that next step with jury trials. How are we going to be able to comply with jury trials so that people have their opportunity and their day in court, not only for the defendant, which of course that's my priority, but you have witnesses and victims as well. So those are going on. We do a lot of cases with guardianship and with mental health commitments. Those have separate timelines, and we're still going forward with those hearings and have to comply with those hearings. So it's a complicated system that's changing every day. But I will say, Wisconsin has a pretty unique, what I found working on a lot of national groups, we have a pretty unique system where we're adversaries in courtroom. We will fight like cats and dogs in the courtroom, but we can really come together on policy and really come together with our coordinating councils and talking about bigger issues. And this has forced us into that even more so. The people sitting down saying, we have to do something. We need to get this done. And how do we achieve that? And still, what we're fighting for is the constitutional rights of our clients. If
more of your clients are being released on pre-release, which you said is happening, are you concerned that could pose a threat to public safety, Kelli?
That's the one issue that they're always using. They're taking people into custody if they think there's any type of public safety issue. So I don't believe that. I believe these are people that have jobs, that people can be with their families, that are in the community, and something happens where they've been charged with a crime, again, innocent until proven guilty, and they should be continued into the community. There are safeguards that we can put in place in the community with supervision at home, with almost like what we consider a house arrest, monitoring, phone calls. So that's still all going on. That's definitely all going on. The issues that we come up against are that we have to be concerned about, and again, the criminal justice system is having to work on, is mental health issues.
Yes.
And this isn't just the criminal justice system. This is for everyone. And how are we getting those types of services, again, telehealth and through the computer and through phone calls to not only our clients, but everyone in the community. And that's an issue that we're constantly working with.
if more and more of your clients are being pre-released and at home, we're under a safer at home order. I'm sorry to ask this, but are you seeing more domestic incidents of violence and abuse?
I would say, and again, it's anecdotal, I don't have the numbers, we see an increase. There's an increase in domestic violence cases, allegations. That's one thing. Overall, we've seen a big decline in criminal cases. So that's great. But what we're hearing anecdotally is there is definitely an uptick in domestic violence cases and again, domestic violence can range from the shouting, screaming, yelling at each other to the actual physical violence.
What about your caseload? As more and more families deal with financial insecurity, has your caseload gone up over the last 6 or 7 weeks, Kelli?
No, we still keep taking in everything that's coming in, but that will absolutely down the road. I think as individuals continue to have unemployment issues, continue to lose jobs, we're going to see a surge in our cases. There's no doubt.
Well, now let's go back to the delay in jury trials.
Sure.
What's the effect on your clients of that?
Well, again, that's the constitutional right. If we have cases that we believe should absolutely have to go forward, we can petition the Supreme Court. They have left that open to say there are cases that, we don't know maybe coming down the pike. So we can petition the court to ask them to go forward. The problem is, as you know, our clients recognize this too. Fighting for a jury trial during a pandemic, you're asking residents to come in and sit and hear a case. Are those the residents you think they're happy residents to come sit in a courtroom and hear your case during a pandemic? I mean, our clients, they're the first ones to say, I don't really want to go forward yet. I understand that people don't want to be there. And the last thing I want is people rushing to judgment because they're afraid of the people next to them in the courtroom. So people, talking through their clients, there are some speedy trial demands that we have to always be concerned about. And some of those can be worked out again with bail, saying, we'll release you back under some cash bail that you can meet and you're required to come back to court. So far, it's been kind of individual situations that have been able to be, they've been able to be remedied so far.
Well, to the best of your knowledge, are there any jury trials going on involving your clients today across Wisconsin, Kelli? No. And this hold has been put on by the Supreme Court to date certain, or is it wide open?
Well, the date certain is that things are going
May
to start.
26th?
Right, but they're working towards what will happen actually. I mean, people aren't going to be ready for a jury trial on May 26th. So that's why I think the Chief Justice has gotten her task force with her subcommittees working. I mean, they've already had multiple meetings because they recognize that's right around the corner, and they have to be able to say, if we're open for jury trials on May 26th, does that mean that we start to bring jurors in? Do we start to send the letters out before the week before the week? What do we do with, jurors with health? All of the limitations that come with just a general, when we're back in normal situations, they're trying to put those in place. And we're using other states. This is a big issue in a number of states. We had a good example in Ohio where a judge tried to go forward with a jury trial and the client had some breathing issues, and so everything was stopped in the middle of it. Michigan has a task force that's pretty advanced on what's going on. So other states are looking at this as we all go forward, and especially as more states begin to open up, but also because the Constitution doesn't take a break during the pandemic. The Constitution doesn't take a break during the crisis, and we all have to figure out what can we do.
Do you look for more of your clients to settle without jury cases because of the concern we don't want jurors sitting next to each other, speeding up any type of a decision, innocent or guilty? Is it going to lead to more plea bargains?
I don't think so. I think clients will, in conjunction and communication with their defense attorney, they will talk about, weighing and balancing what can be done. I think the Chief Justice is cognizant of this, and she's already talked about how would we social distance in a courtroom so that people would have some more comfort level. Most cases end in either something in other than a jury trial, a plea negotiation, a dismissal, some type of different charges come about. I think those will continue. It's getting to those points. So it's trying to get all the discovery on the case. It's trying to meet with your client. It's trying to line up your witnesses when nobody wants to talk with you. It's just, there's all the hurdles that are traditionally there and public defenders are used to, because that's just the work that we do. We have now 10 more hurdles put on top of us.
10 more hurdles.
Yeah.
Let's talk about teleconferencing.
Sure.
The technology capabilities of teleconferencing in Milwaukee County are probably pretty good. But when you get to Bayfield, Oneida, Vilas, Taylor County, different tech issues?
Different tech issues throughout the state. I'll tell you, Milwaukee has been, they've done, and I'll look at it two ways. Milwaukee has been extraordinarily advanced in cooperation. I mean, they came together early on. They looked at cases that should be released that everybody would agree on. They looked at how to do intake court, first in the jail and then to try and do it remotely. But in such a large system and just the way those buildings are, we have struggled with technology in Milwaukee. Now they've gotten much better and intake seems to be working, but technology in Milwaukee, it's the size and it's the different places where people are coming, and it's the simple things, that people don't think about. We have to do eligibility forms on everyone. So to see if they qualify for us. If I'm in a jail, if I only have 2 phones and 60 people that need an eligibility form, or 30 people, all the length of time that takes, and who can get to those phones, and is there any privacy when you're talking to someone, and where are they coming from in the jail? Movement is such a significant issue. What we're hearing, I don't work in a jail, but what we're hearing is moving people around. So if I'm bringing them from different sections and pods of the jail, it's just, everything takes so much longer. But definitely throughout the state, I think the judges have been very good with that. Most of them have gotten on with Zoom, what we're using, and have gotten a lot of success through that. So I think the court was pretty quick to try to get up to speed on technology. But it is rural Wisconsin. We have, I don't have a technology budget. I don't have an IT budget. So all of a sudden I have staff, they're coming in the office, but they need to be at home to do certain hearings. Right. Who am I scraping that laptop up? And by the way, I'm in rural Wisconsin. I need a hotspot, or I don't have technology. I don't have the internet that moves fast enough. And that's just my staff. I know that's happening to everyone.
Well, what about the idea of your public defender would like to meet in a teleconference or a Zoom meeting with her or his client, but the client may not have the capability, maybe in Princeton, Wisconsin, population 112. So how does your public defender deal with that?
So that's where we try. I will tell you, some of our staff are meeting with people in person. Some of them are meeting with them in areas where they can still keep at a conference table some length of time or some distance. But a lot of those hearings, especially if the court is involved and there has to be some type of a hearing, they can't go forward. I mean, they have to be able to have the technology. We can't require someone to go forward in a hearing and say, but come up with the technology, and oh, by the way, we recognize you have no money and probably no place to go, no libraries to go to. This has come up in a way with, for instance, we do a lot of extended supervision and probation hearings, revocation hearings. Mm-hmm. And that has been the decision between all of us, is if a client or a witness isn't capable or able to get the computer to be able to appear on Zoom, or we can't get to them for some reason, we just don't go forward. And everybody recognizes that, because our clients, to qualify for a public defender, you are at 115% of the federal poverty guideline in 2011. It hasn't moved since 2011. So these are not people with extra resources. Some will borrow a friend or a family member, and we can have some type of dialogue, but that's a big hurdle. And again, our individual public defenders are putting their own health at risk to make sure that our clients can get the representation that they need.
I have to ask, have you had any of your staff, your public defenders, test positive, and they believe as a result of interactions with clients?
We've had a lot of staff that have been under self-quarantine because of, my client A has tested positive and the jail has let us know, or something has let us know. To my knowledge, we have not had anybody that has come back with a positive test.
Have you had anybody resign because they weren't comfortable in these new one-on-one settings with potential positive clients?
We've had a couple of individuals resign. Whether it's because of that or not, they have not told us. We have had people that have taken special leaves and other staff that have stepped up to help them out because of they have a family member at home with a compromised immune system or something else going on where they feel like they're in a situation where they can't represent appropriately. And again, it comes down, they'll tell you, I mean, I've had these conversations. It's not, I'm so worried about me. I'm worried about my family member and I'm worried about my client's rights. I can't be afraid to go talk to my client or even through a glass or with a mask, because a lot of the jails are now requiring special masks or obviously non-contact visits. So, that's certainly, and that's happening. And I will say that is happening at different levels in different places. And again, oftentimes it's where there's been another outbreak where people have become concerned.
At the start of this fiscal year, you probably didn't have a budget for PPE equipment, correct?
That is correct.
So how are your staff members finding it?
We are begging, borrowing, and pleading for them. People are buying their own. I mean, at some point in time, we will have to make some adjustments internally and make sure that we can get anybody who wants one and can't afford one, that we can get them some type of a face mask. But most people have been doing it on their own at this time. We just don't have, these are things that we don't have budgets for anything in our office. So for something that we certainly were unintended. But I will say Department of Administration is working closely, making sure that, these are coming up on constant calls about it, because we're not alone in that. All the agencies are saying, we're looking down the road as more staff coming into the offices, as more staff meeting with public members, how do we get this equipment?
I want to ask about two Department of Corrections policies and the impact on your agency. Number one, no more admissions to state prisons. Number two, no transfers. Does that have any significant impact on your clients?
Well, most of our clients, if they were set to go to prison, then they're staying in the local jails. So that has not been significant necessarily. The significant issue for the corrections comes for us. We have so many clients and so many past clients that are sitting in prison cells and sitting in different prisons, and they are scared to death. And the volume of calls that are coming in from individuals in prison and from their families is overwhelming. I mean, I get letters daily, and I'm just one person, so I can imagine throughout our agency, but we're working on different ways to try and help some of these individuals out. And our what we can do, there is some limitations. There are different geriatric and extraordinary health circumstances that we can petition through Department of Corrections and then to the courts. Certain cases may be appropriate for some type of a sentence modification based on a new factor, and COVID being the new factor, but everything takes so much time. It's, us finding the clients or them finding us, them filling out the paperwork that they want representation, there's so many different petitions and forms that they have to fill out, but trying to be a contact and a resource for these individuals. Their social workers have been really good, and they actually give them our phone numbers and our mail addresses just so that sometimes they just need to hear that we're looking at this, we're working on this, because that is the one area, as I talk about criminal justice reform on the front end, the other side is we have so many individuals sitting in prison that are they are over the age of 50, they're over the age of 60, they're over the age of 65. They have health, we have people going through chemo that have, certain health issues that are so extraordinary. And then to have this going on with COVID, and their families are scared and they are scared.
Could DOC release more of those clients, more of those inmates that you just gave a demographic profile of, Kelli?
Department of Corrections has more flexibility to release some individuals based on certain requirements. What they have done with us is what we've requested is to provide us with information, and they've been excellent about providing information. I think, I am not in their world, so I don't know what their decision-making process is. What I've been able to say is, can you work with us? Can you communicate with us? Can you streamline certain processes? And they've been excellent. I mean, the staff have been trying whatever they can to work with us. The same, part of Division of Community Corrections, which is the probation extended supervision. We have constant contact with them about, do you have to take someone into custody on a revocation, or can we do out of custody revocation hearings? And they've just been very responsive. So from our end, we've been working with them on that. They certainly have some flexibilities, but they also have obviously other issues that they have to consider.
Family members of inmates, they cannot visit. They must be calling your public defenders asking, can you see my relative? Can you see my father, son, brother? How do your public defenders respond to the personal concerns that they cannot relay because of the no visitation policy?
Saying that they will certainly continue to try and contact them via phone, that we will reach out to their social workers. It's really the social workers that are within the prisons that are kind of our contact, to let them know that we are working on their behalf. But it's hard. I mean, these family members are devastated. I know that, I think I read something that Department of Corrections is providing additional phone calls and free calls, and some communication with family members to help them out. But they know what the prison system is like, and even a prison system that is doing really well, there's never going to be enough distancing. There's hand sanitizer, where people go when they're ill, and our prisons are over capacity. That's, yes. That's fact. That's not me, that's fact. So they're very, very scared, and they're seeing what's happening in other states. So far, knock on wood, our prison system has been, we've certainly had outbreaks in certain areas. But what we see on the horizon in other states is scary. And we've seen that in a smaller way in the House of Corrections in Milwaukee. So it is happening, where you get a few people and all of a sudden it balloons overnight. And the other issue is, I worry very significantly about our clients, but it's the workers. If we're already understaffed and over capacity, and you all of a sudden have an outbreak with workers, what happens next? Now, they're working on that, I'm sure, but that's what we're hearing from family members and from our clients.
You've been dealing with these emergencies and contingency for 6 or 7 weeks, Kelli. What are your concerns 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now, in terms of if, tragically, all the medical health experts say we're going to be dealing with COVID in some way over those next few months, but from a criminal justice standpoint?
Just it will take us years, I think, with the backlog to try and get through. I think it's the volume of cases and workload that I think our staff are breaking now, because everything takes 10 times longer to get discovery, to meet with the client. Everything is taking significantly longer. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like this summer as we try to get back to some normalcy. And then you expand it out to 6 months and 9 months. I think our criminal justice system is overburdened already, and this is just, the impact is going to be significant. The positive, I think, when you have a crisis, people come together. The criminal justice partners, they come together and they work closely together. And I think that will continue. But on an individual, I worry about our clients' rights. As everyone's saying, let's just all be flexible. That flexibility, video conferencing is a wonderful thing. Video conferencing cannot take the place of our clients sitting in a courtroom looking at a judge. It can't take the place of that human contact. It can't take the place of witnesses coming in and testifying. We can't use efficiency to take the place of our clients and their rights, which are so important. I have on the administrative side the constant issue of staffing. I was down over 30 public defenders before this started.
30 out of how many?
We have about 370 public defenders.
So you were 10% job openings.
And which is true. The problem is, at that 10%, it was almost constant. I mean, people
Sure.
were, right, some retirements, and then I'm losing people. And that's a significant impact. I need them all, and I need them to be ready to work 10 times harder than they were working before. And they were already working 24/7. And that's a hard issue, and they know it. But I think it's mentally crushing for a lot of them.
Just a couple more questions.
Sure.
You've been gracious with your time. So you see a backlog in jury trials that can only be resolved over the next year or two, just because there's going to be jury trials. Nobody knows when they're going to resume, correct?
Exactly. Already it can take months to have a jury trial. So if I'm in a more rural setting, they may be able to do things a little bit more quickly. But if I have now 20 jury trials that have been set aside on serious felony cases, how am I choosing which ones go first? Like that's going to be a tough issue for everyone to have to handle. All of a sudden with witnesses, it's going to be, all of the issues that are happening are going to be extended far out. And I think it will take us over a year. Absolutely take us over a year to try and come back. I think everybody will work really hard and try and make sure that we can do it. And what I am saying is nothing different than what we're hearing nationally as people look down the road about how are we going to get people back to some type of routine. And I don't know, and Steve, you would know better than me. I don't know if we'll be there in a year. I mean, no one knows. No one knows. Right. And, we, knock on wood, but as soon as, like we've seen with the processing plants, these extended outbreaks, I mean, yep. What's the next area? What's the next industry? And is it going to be in the prisons? And all of a sudden, so we just don't know. And that is the hard. But everyone, I will say, I think the task force, the Chief Justice has put together, I think that has been extraordinarily important, and it brings people from all over. And it doesn't, obviously I'm focused on the criminal justice system, but we have a significant number of clients that are going through termination of parental rights, which is on the civil side. We have the guardianships and the mental health commitments, the 5155s, which are extraordinarily important. So we have all those players at the table talking about what to do next.
You also have a immigration practice, which I didn't know until I went through your table of organization.
We have specialty groups because so many of our issues are, go across so many of our cases, and because we need basically subject matter experts in our agency, the go-to people. So our immigration practice is attorneys that do cases across the board, but also have a specialized interest in this area. So they'll do all the extra research for people. We have a forensics practice. We have a 980 practice, which is our sexually violent persons. We have a juvenile and termination of parental rights. Juvenile law, we haven't even had a chance to talk about our poor kiddos, but that's an area of expertise that, it's definitely a specialized area of the law and what happens to them and where they can go, and treatment opportunities. And so we have attorneys that have raised their hand and said, I would like to be the subject matter experts. And so they get the inquiries and people try and share information with them constantly. So they've been fantastic.
Final question. The governor has said he's asked state agencies what they would need. Now, the governor controls $1.9 billion as a result of the federal CARES Act. Mm-hmm. Has your agency made a specific ask from of the governor for any portion of that $1.9 billion, Kelli?
We sent in some suggestions to their office. What we've come back, what DOA has asked us to do is keep a very detailed spreadsheet of where our costs are that are directly related to COVID. So we're able to do that. And, everyone knows, because we all are all on these large groups together, it's technology is one of our number one. That's a number one issue, and that will be a continuing issue going forward for us.
Okay. Kelli Thompson, State Public Defender, thanks so much for updating us on the unique issues COVID poses for the Public Defender's Office. Thank you, Kelli.
Thank you, Steve, for really highlighting this. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
This program is a production of WisconsinEye, an independent, nonpartisan, nonprofit media network with a mission to inform, educate, and engage the citizens of Wisconsin. WisconsinEye is the nation's first and only independently funded state civics broadcast network, providing gavel-to-gavel access to government proceedings and events at the state capitol.